maybe we should break down the track a little bit. Alan, what do you think? We've been going there for years. I've been there many times,
Yeah.
not as of late, but it's developed a lot since, like, obviously Danny and I were in Giant. I mean, there were sections at Leogang where we were having to puzzle, be like, it's not a consistent to go over this line. This line you could honestly crash. I'm not saying it's an easy track because it's difficult to go fast. It's a different skill set, like having to just, death grip. But part of me, like you said, there's like gravel going into the woods now. Like that's less technical. The motorway every year has got more gravelly and less technical. There's less lines at the top. Like, have we gone a little bit far here? Like, what's the general consensus? Is it a bit quick? Is it a bit one line and then you're only asking one question of the riders and that's let go of the brakes?
Well, you're going to start me on a rant. You're going to start me on a rant. I'm sort of, I love the venue of Leogang, and I turn up and I'm like, oh, we're doing the same thing again, but maybe with less technicality, because we know exactly where we're going for the most part. Um, they they've put they've turned the top half into just basically gravel. It's not, it doesn't cut up. They had a really weird thing at split one. I don't think you've even seen it on the cameras because they had a drone shot for this, but they shoot out of a tunnel. And up to that point, you've had a couple of off cambers on the grass that, if it was soaking wet, would have cut up, but didn't. And they shoot out this tunnel. And normally you would shoot out the tunnel and jump into a berm, a big berm, and it rails left. What they did is they made you shoot right just onto a grass piste, like no feature, just like a cow pasture, and then jump into a berm at the bottom. And there was such an opportunity to put a turn in there and make a chicane in there and slow the speed down. But it just got faster and faster and faster. And when you come in now, the entry into the first sort of stumps, they changed the entry into it a little bit, but it didn't change the line. It was the same line that we do all the time. And then going into the second stumps, it was pretty much the same line we do all the time. You're over the jumps again on the motorway. And like I referenced earlier, you come out of this other tunnel, and there used to be some tabletops there, but they've taken them out and literally, they were like pump track rollers, and you could have a different rhythm. You could sort of roll manual double, or roll, double out. There was a couple of different options there. And when you went into the woods after that sort of gravelly right-hander, there was this option for an inside line, but they didn't put a single corner in. So if you'd slowed up on that bridge as you enter the woods, cut left, you could have just straight lined all the way down to this bridge. And to be honest, that was pretty scary, the thought of the speed that they'd build. So in the riders' meeting, the riders basically said they thought this was just too fast. It's just too fast and too dangerous. And people suggested a couple of modifications to that line. And the organisation, from my understanding, because I wasn't in the meeting, pretty much pushed back and said, no, it's fine. If you don't want that line, we'll just take that line out. So they just completely kind of taped off, as it was, posted off that inside line. So everyone had to go into the bike park kind of berm at the bottom. And to me, it's a bit of a shame, really. They'd redone the steep section. There's a steep right-hander where you can go high and inside or low and outside. And what happens traditionally is everyone goes low until the end of the second practice day, when the absolute life has been ridden out of the bottom section and the tree stumps are coming out of it, and then they have to go high. But the way they built the track up, it preserved the lines, really. I feel as though when I watched the men's race, I felt as though you couldn't differentiate between what the riders were doing. It was really hard to show how good these guys in this instance were, because I'm referencing the men's race, and the times were so tight. And I think in a way it was potentially an anticlimax because the wind was playing such a role. I think there was a really good tailwind on the top half, and then when that tailwind sort of died off, no one was able to get to the woods with a good crack at it. And I think that was sort of my take on it. And that's not, goodness me, it's not taking anything away Jackson. I think Jackson would have won it regardless. But I felt as though Jackson probably had the opportunity to win it by more if it was more technical. And I think we, as spectators, would love to see those stumps. I think if you slow it down and you show the riders moving around on the bike and you show the suspension working, you really get an idea of how difficult it is. But if you've got this panning shot of a rider coming past you on a bike park turn, what's the technical element to that? What's the sort of awe? Everyone just thinks, well, I could do that. It's just he's doing it faster. And I'm not sure whether I'm not sure to me whether that's the thing that sparks my fascination in downhill. It's not that I can do it, but you can do it faster. It's like, wow, you've done that. I'm not sure whether I'm able to do that bit. So, yeah, that's sort of my take on the track.
It's you share my sentiments. It's obviously progressed and morphed into being used a bit more bike parking, and they bring gravel in because it does do better with the weather. Like the first time they did the wood section in 2020, you could argue we needed a bit more gravel then. It didn't hold up enough, and obviously we saw riders like Reese excel. Like yes, but you wanted a little bit more consistent. I would say some middle ground. Like eventually a track gets a bit tired. That's like the old bottom woods of Leogang eventually got a bit tired. Then they put a new one in. So yeah, I'm also saying, like, as devil's advocate, I think the broadcast will be more exciting. There's a lot of byproduct things that will be better, and the racers seem to want a little bit more technical, a little bit more to differentiate you, considering we're doing this top 30 and times are so tight.
Yeah.
But you're right. I was like, it's so hard to spot the difference. Like, it's so exciting when it's like, wow, look at that line, or how did he get up there? Like those are cool things for commentators to notice and ride and the fans at home. Now you're just like watching Henry Kiefer's run versus Loic's. I'm like, I don't where was the time made? Like I can't really see. Like Jackson has a different style, so that's exciting. Like he's hopping more than others, so that differentiates me. That's cool. But like you say, if I'm just watching the same sort of thing on the motorway, the same sort of thing, even in the woods, it's like if you're almost going at maximum speed, 45k an hour. A little bit faster doesn't really look that fast, but if you're really slow and some guys really attacking, you can like visually see who's going to be up at the split.